What's up, you guys? Welcome to my channel. My name is Coach Magali if this is your first video of mine. In this video, I'm going to cover the differences between split squats and lunges, what the difference is, what makes them unique, when to use what. So if you're looking to up-level your leg routine and you're looking at these two exercises, then this video is for you. If you enjoy videos such as these where I break down different types of exercises, compare and contrast them, and give you my tips and tricks that I've learned along the way as a personal trainer and somebody who trains herself, then please like this video to let me know that you want to see more videos like these. Also, so that you don't miss any of my future uploads, make sure you do subscribe down below. With all of that out of the way, let's get into the difference between split squats and lunges. The main thing that differentiates split squats and lunges is what your feet are doing. To put it simply, a lunge is when your foot position throughout the set moves. In the case of reverse lunges, your foot moves back and then back forward. In a walking lunge, you're constantly moving them. In a forward lunge, you're lunging forward and then bringing your foot back. Basically, if at any point your foot comes off the floor and moves to a different location, that is considered a lunge. It's in the name, we are lunging towards or away from something. A split squat is basically a squat stance that is split, and so your feet do not move at any point throughout the set. Your foot only moves when it comes time to switching to the opposite leg so that you can complete the exercise. But that's really the main difference between the two. If at any point your foot moves, whether forward, backward, to the side, that is now automatically considered a lunge. Split squats, there's regular dumbbell split squats, there's deficit split squats, Bulgarian split squats. All of these different exercises do not move your foot at all throughout the reps. So that's what makes it a split squat. So what does that mean? What is the difference between your foot moving or not moving? Like, what does that do for the legs? A lunge is a lot more fatiguing. It is usually more difficult. It requires a lot more stability, and it's considered a little bit more of an advanced variation. These are both difficult exercises, but if I had to say the one that's the hardest one is the lunge. But again, because the Bulgarian split squat is a split squat and we all know how much those suck, they all can be very difficult and they can all be challenging in their own way. But both of these types of exercises, split squats and lunges, can be more glutes or they can be more quads. But keep in mind, every single variation that you do, no matter if it's a split squat, if it's a lunge, is going to be a little bit of both. The quads and the glutes are the two main muscles that are involved in this type of exercise. Although we can focus more on one, just always keep in mind that if you feel the other muscle, that's okay. It's still going to be involved, and that's actually a good thing. It's how it's supposed to function. How do you bias lunges and split squats to be more quads or more glutes? So there's a couple of different ways, but one of the main things that you want to keep in mind to make something more quad focused is we want the knee to bend as much as possible. So basically, how close can we get your calf to your hamstring? The smaller that gap is, the more quads we involve. Also, keeping a more upright torso is going to help put more of the focus on the quads. And the last thing about quads is you want to make sure that the movement pattern, the way that you actually move, is more just straight up and down. This is going to ensure, again, we get most of that knee bend and we're putting most of the pressure on the quad. If we're trying to make something glute focused, well, then we just slightly lean forward with the torso and we keep it bent in that direction for the whole set. And specifically when it comes to lunges and moving directions, you want to move almost in a diagonal way, in contrast to the quads where we want to move up and down. But again, keep in mind that no matter how much torso lean or upright you are or how you move, it's going to involve both. It's just which one are we trying to put most of the work on, then you follow those guidelines. And so this brings me to the next question is, which one's better? Which one's going to build my quads more? Which one's going to build my glutes more? There's no way to answer this other than it depends, and they're both fine and they both work great. Like, don't overthink it and think you have to have the perfect variation to do this. Just if you want to work out more quads, stay more upright, move up and down, and bend the knee as much as possible. If you want more glutes, lean forward, move diagonally, and minimize the knee bend. If you follow those two guidelines, you can choose any of the variations under these two categories, and you're gonna work out that muscle the way that you want it. So it's not so much that one is better than the other, it really just depends. Tweak it to what you're trying to do. I will say this, I do not recommend that you do a split squat and a lunge in the same session. They are both very fatiguing, and it's better to just focus on one. And if you have 2 full body days or 2 leg days, you can do one day where you do a split squat, and then the second day you can do a lunge, and kind of alternate like that. I do not recommend to do them in the same session because you're going to be fatigued, and therefore the quality of your sets is going to decrease. So don't do one of each in the same session. Some common technique tips and tricks and mistakes that I've seen people make with these is, one, you want to make sure that the leading leg, whether you're lunging, whether you're just staying in place in a split squat, whatever variation you're doing, that the leg that's in front of you, the heel does not come off the ground. This puts a lot of excessive pressure on our knees. It creates a lot of instability, and it tells the muscle to basically relax because the knees got it, and you're not really being efficient. If you load a lot of weight or you do more reps, you could potentially injure your knee or irritate it. So just always make sure that our heel is flat on the ground at all times, whether we're stepping forward, whether we're going backwards, or we're staying in place, like I said, with the split squat. Front foot 100% flat at all times. Another thing is the distance at which you stand or you lunge is going to depend on your leg length, your height, what's comfortable for you. It's slightly different for everybody, but a good rule of thumb is, you know, you're too close when you feel a ton of knee pressure, and that usually means that your knees are just really close together, so they're bearing all of the weight of your body. That if you feel a lot of knee pressure or knee pain, take like 1 or 2 small steps back until you kind of feel like you're in a more comfortable position. You know you're too far when you physically can't get yourself up off the ground, you have a hard time completing the rep, you can't go all the way down, or you almost feel like you're falling into a split. So if that's the case, take a few steps forward, again keeping in mind you don't want to feel too much pressure in your knees, and figure out your sweet spot. If you have markings on the floor, use that, or if you want to put something next to your foot to remind you where it is. It does take a bit of practice to get the right stance, but once you do, it's like second nature. You won't even overthink it anymore. But those are 2 of the guidelines that I use when I first teach this exercise, to make sure that we're standing optimally, our knees are not getting stressed, and we're not way too far where we can't even do the set correctly. The next thing I will say is, because these are super fatiguing, one, like I said, don't do them together in the same session, but also I would prefer you do more weight with less reps, because in order for our sets to be effective, I've talked about this in previous videos, is we have to be close to failure, meaning we have to be close to the point where if we kept going a few reps down the line, we would physically not be able to get up. If you focus on doing more reps and doing a ton of sets on each side, your body's going to fatigue before your muscles fatigue. It's a very energetically demanding exercise. So I prefer personally to keep the reps between 8 to 12, maybe 15, depending on the client, depending on the context, but usually between 8 and 12, and no more than 2 to 3 sets per side. And make sure you're getting some rest. You can rest in between legs, like 30 seconds to a minute, and then rest after you're done with both legs. That way you have all the energy to pour into that next set or that next leg and not be dying and fatiguing. In terms of what tool to use, do I use a dumbbell? Do I use a barbell? Do I use machine? Do I use this? It doesn't matter. Just go based on what is accessible to you, what is available to you, what you know how to use, what you feel confident using. Just whatever method you use, make sure that you're able to load it properly. And so that's obviously going to be different for everybody, but dumbbells, barbells, the Smith machine, again, just make sure that you're able to load it over time, add more weight, and it's a weight that you can control and a way you can hold it that doesn't cause you to lose balance and all of that. But they all work, they're all fine. It doesn't really matter. Speaking of stability, there is absolutely nothing wrong, and it's not cheating, to hold on to something when you're performing either a lunge or even a split squat, even if you're not moving. A lot of people really struggle with stability at first when it comes to this exercise, and there is nothing wrong with grabbing onto something for added stability and then grab on with the weight on the opposite side. That's actually a really great way to stabilize the exercise even more and get your muscle to work harder versus your body trying to stabilize you. It's less demanding, it's more stable, and you can actually load it heavy versus trying to do it just without holding holding on if you're not capable of that. So don't be afraid to hold on to something, to a wall, to a machine, or if you just want more stability so you can go heavier, that's perfectly fine. It is not cheating. It is a perfectly valid way to do it, and it's a tool that I use all of the time with my clients. One last thing I'll mention is a lot of people also tell me that they feel a lot the opposite leg when they're doing these types of exercises, and they're a little concerned, like, oh, am I doing too much, or what's going on? Why am I feeling it on both legs? So even though this is a more of a single leg exercise, it's not a true single leg exercise. You're still depending on your opposite leg for support. Otherwise, we wouldn't need to use it. Having the supporting leg, the one that basically stays behind you, feeling a little bit of fatigue is normal, but I do find that a lot of the times it's because people are shifted more towards the back. I call it the Michael Jackson. If you just shift your weight forward, that puts most of the weight on the front foot. This is when you're reverse lunging, when you're forward lunging, whatever exercise you're doing, any split squat, you want the majority of your weight to fall on the front leg. That way it's more stable. You're actually working one leg more than the other, and the rear leg doesn't fatigue before that leg has to go and take a turn too. So I like to do about 60 to 70% of the weight on the forward leg, 30 to 40% on the rear leg. Again, just by shifting your weight forward. Don't be afraid to take a rest in between legs. Like if your back leg is really feeling it, take a few seconds, let it recover so that you can do it properly, but you can minimize how much fatigue you create in the rear leg by shifting your weight forward. So to summarize, they're both incredible exercises. They're both very difficult, and you can choose whichever variations you want. They all work. Just don't do one of each in the same session. Make sure that you're loading it properly. Make sure that your form is on point. And instead of doing more, focus on doing less with higher quality. These are absolutely incredible. I don't think there is a single client of mine that does not have some sort of single leg, split squat, lunge type of exercise, because they are that good. They are incredible for knee health, stability, glute gains, quad gains. All in all, everybody, regardless of your goals, should be doing at least one of these once a week in one of your leg days or full body days, or however you want to put it into your workout routine. They are slightly different. They both work. They're both effective. They're both great. Choose whichever one you want to do and go hard at it. And so that concludes the lunge versus split squat video. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you found some information in this video that's going to help you make your routine a little bit better. If anything stood out to you or you have any further questions, please leave them in the comments below. I am more than happy to help with that. If you guys did enjoy this video, again, don't forget to like it and subscribe for more content. And then if you know somebody who would benefit from this video, I would really appreciate it if you sent it their way so that they also can get some information out of it. It really helps me spread my message out to more people and get this video out. So I would really appreciate your support in doing that. Thank you so much for being here. Again, I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next video. Peace out.